immaculately but different from everyone else. He didn't wear a fedora, he wore a Homburg. He didn't wear regular collars like this, he had to have his custom made and rounded off. He didn't wear a Panama straw hat in the summer, but if you remember, he had a Monte Cristi. No khakis in the summer. In the summertime, he wore a seersucker blue and white suit, which he lovingly called his pajamas. And I used to say to him, do you go to bed in those? I was a little kid, and he would say, of course, I sleep in them, and I wake up looking like this. And then many years later, having the opportunity, and once again, the zechut, after studying with one of our greatest masters in Toronto, Cantor Benjamin Meisner, I also studied with Cantor Danto at the same time, working on voice. And I'm not sure which part I enjoyed more, the studying and the learning with him, or afterwards when Rochama would put out the black bread and the salmon caviar and schmaltz herring, and we would sit there and we would talk about life. And it was truly an amazing thing, but I never had a schnapps. Why? Because Louis said, a schnapps will dry out the voice, dry it out. So we never did that. When I decided to become a chazan and work at that, I remember Cantor Danto saying to me, you know, you have to learn Yiddish repertoire. It's very important, very important. And so I said, well, I don't know where to begin because Yiddish is not a language I really know. And he said, well, you begin with one song and you learn another. And I realized how important it really is, the Yiddish repertoire. After all, Cantor Danto had a repertoire. Russian, Hebrew, Chazonis, Yiddish, Ladino, Italian folk, opera, and his very famous song that he sang at almost everybody's wedding in the shul, oh, my baby, my curly-headed baby. Everybody remembers that. So it was my loving friend Grisha who first taught me to sing this song, and I just want to share with you a little bit of what that was like to learn with Grisha. I would begin like this. Was machst du etwas Meuschelech, erkenn doch noch ein Blick. And Grisha would say, higher, you have to sing higher. So I would take it up a little bit and we'd go, was machst du etwas Meuschelech, erkenn doch noch ein Blick. Higher, a little bit higher. Was machst du etwas Meuschelech, erkenn doch noch ein higher. And so on. And this is the way it began. And he learned and he taught, and he said he was a student all his life and that we all must remain students. But really, what happens is not only just mastering the art of music and the musicality and the style of bel canto, which he developed and was a true artist in. Bel canto means beautiful singing. At the end of all of the lesson, what Grisha said was, you know, better you should sing like Marshall. Sing like yourself. So this is what it is. Was machst du etwas Meuschelech, erkenn doch noch ein Blick. Die bist gewesen meine Chavero, mit Jahren viele zurück. In euch in Cheder haben wir gelernt lang benannt. Euch steht mit der Rebbe noch, der Kanschek in seiner Hand. Zurück die Jahre, jene schöne Zeit. Heute das junge, schöne Leben ist von Unscheinerei. Nehme zurück die Jahre, Meuschele, meine Freund. Heute noch jene Wesen Reben, bringt das Herz neu an. Was macht ein Schwester Rochele, wie groß ich es gewesen? Sie ich einmal gedenkst du noch, so ein Herz in mir gewesen. Geliebt hat sie mir Berlin, gehasst mich ohne Scheime Gran. Verlieben in Herzen noch, an nicht meine Worte wohnt. Jene schöne Zeit, euch das junge, schöne Leben Yes, moin und scheine wei. Zurück die Ohren, Meuchele, meine Freund. Heu noch jene Besereben, fängt das Herz noch an. And so my studies began with Grisha, learning scales and singing with him, and really enjoying such an incredible relationship all of these years. You know, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce another mentor of mine and a mentor to so many of Chazanim in Toronto, a great Chazan in his own right. And I call him my Zaidi because he's treated me that way all of these years. And that is someone who was a colleague to Grisha and knew him for many decades since the first day he came. And that was, this is Cantor Eliezer Kirschblum, and we turn it over to Chazan Kirschblum.
Thank you, Marshall. Kolo Naim Umurav Bidat Im Habriot. This six-word formula recorded in the Talmud highlights some of the important qualifications for serving as a shliach tzibur or as a cantor. A beautiful, pleasant voice, coupled with someone who would be considered in the common vernacular as a people person. Beth Emet Beis Yehuda congregation chose the ideal candidate. I was in the audience in the synagogue's sanctuary when Cantor Danto was introduced to the congregation and community at a concert. I remember the signature piece he chose to sing. It is probably one of the most challenging and difficult pieces of chazanis to perform. To do justice to that composition, it would require the chazan to have an extraordinary voice with a wide vocal range, an impeccable coloratura, superb vocal technique, and masterful interpretation. When Cantor Danto completed his rendition, the audience erupted to thunderous and extended applause. There was no doubt that he had consummated his contract as the chazan of Beth Emet Synagogue. To hear Louis daven at the Amud was to bear witness as he communicated with the Almighty on behalf of his congregation. To hear Louis concertize was to be entertained and mesmerized by his unique talent and style. The congregation and community loved him, and he adored them. I was fortunate to serve as the cantor of Adonai Israel Synagogue during his tenure. I had numerous opportunities to join with him in the many concerts that the Council of Chazanim presented to our community. In ensembles, I was most often placed next to him on stage. What a treat, as well as an opportunity for me to have a personal voice lesson. Even at the breaks, Louis would offer advice on vocal technique and voice placement, not out of arrogance, but as a friend and devoted colleague. The text of that famous cantorial recitative Cantor Danto performed at that concert was a Kavya ben Mahalalel Omer. The principles enumerated in the text became guidelines that would steer and guide Louis in the right direction throughout his life. Me'ayin bata, where did you come from? He always acknowledged and respected his past. Ula'an ata holech, to where are you going? With a smile on his face, despite the many challenges and obstacles put before him, he forged ahead with confidence, with courage, and with conviction. V'lifnei mi ata ba litain din v'cheshbon, and before whom are you ultimately accountable? His relationship with God kept him steadfast throughout his life. Cantor Louis Danto officiated and performed as one of the superstars of our profession, both on the Amud as well as on the concert stage. Yehei Zichro Baruch. On this day, we commemorate the 10th yarzeit of Chazan Tzvi Aryeh ben Chaim Udvora. We pray that his memory be a source of blessing for his wife Ruchama, his children and grandchildren, his congregation and community. At this time, on behalf of all of us, I would like to thank Cantor Marshall Loomer for initiating and organizing this well-deserved tribute. Thank you.
On May 2nd, 1929, in Suwalki, Poland, a son was born to Chaim and Devorah Danto Marchuk. Herr Schleib would be the only one of their 6 children to survive the Holocaust. This is a Suwalki synagogue where he became an alto soloist at the age of 8. And here he is that same year in a Jewish day camp. In 1939, the family crossed the border into Russia. The talented boy won first prize in a music competition and later a full scholarship in Minsk. When Germany invaded, he was 10 years old and separated forever from his parents. The next 5 years were spent wandering, studying, running, and searching in vain for his family. At 15, Grisha Danto was at a music school in the Soviet Ural Mountains. His survival was a miracle, a gift to the world of music and the glory of Chazanut. Only 15 years old, he was already playing the romantic lead in an operetta. By 17, Grisha was just one of the boys at the Conservatory of Lodz, and just as handsome as Hollywood movie actor Jimmy Stewart. While a student in Rome, the youthful tenor's bel canto artistry was recognized by such luminaries as Beniamino Gili and Tito Schipa. At Schipa's funeral in 1965, at the family's request, Cantor Louis Danto chanted a special prayer in the presence of distinguished Metropolitan Opera stars.
I'm not sure if you saw the video or if you watched or you were seeing me. Can someone tell me, because was the video playing? The video was playing? All right, I wasn't sure. Okay.
Grisha came to America in 1950 and 4 years later married Ada Kissin. She died tragically, only 33 years old, the mother of their 2 little girls, Annette and Denise. From 1955, Louis Danto served as cantor of the Atlantic Beach Jewish Center in Long Island, New York for 12 years. He is shown in 1962, along with Chief Rabbi Moses Rosen of Romania, at a gathering of the Jewish Ministers Cantors Association. Then cantor of the beautiful Park Synagogue in Cleveland, we see him here at the Great Synagogue in Moscow, 1969. That was the same year he married his life partner, Ruchama Lebel, and a year before their son David was born. As time went by, his career would take him to many distant cities, including Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg, London, England, Vienna, Rome, and Prague. In 1982, closer to home, Cleveland and an informal concert in the park. It started to rain, but nobody left.
Bei den Gnüdim ist Bossor a gebrochene Katschkele. Und bei den Kapzonim, oi wei, oi Kapzonim, oi Dalfonim, ist Bossor a dare Kischkele nebe. Lass mir alles singen, a Severu, a Severu.
During the 1984 royal visit, a Hebrew prayer for the Queen, with original music composed by Charles Heller.
Elizabeth השני, ואת משפחת המלוכה, ואת כל שרי מדינת קנדה.
I'd like now to welcome Chazan Jeremy Burko to introduce his beautiful video and song which he put together. And at this time, I'd like to take a moment just to thank Rabbi Walker and Jeremy. Jeremy, if it wasn't for Jeremy today, then we wouldn't have had a video working today at all. Last minute, he saved the day, and he taught me what an MP4 was. So I learned a great deal today. So thank you to Jeremy and to all of the help that I've received. And now we're going to continue, and we're going to welcome Jeremy Burko to present his video and say a few words.
Hello, everyone. It's an absolute honor to be invited here and to participate in this innovative concert commemorating Cantor Danto's 10th yarzeit. I grew up singing in the Beth Emeth choir, wearing those infamous blue tablecloths, while also being inspired every single Shabbat and holiday with Cantor Danto's glorious artistry and his beautiful soul that came through on every note he sang. It was an honor for me to call him a teacher and mentor until the last moments of his life. In his honor, I've prepared a setting of Atachon Antanu, which is the special addition paragraph to the Saturday night Mariv Amida, which normally, of course, is never spoken out loud. We do the Mariv Amida silently every day. So you never get to hear this piece of liturgy out loud. This haunting piece is by the great cantor and composer Israel Alter, who's of course better known around these parts as Benny Meisner's uncle. And the setting is by Morris Barash, and I am proud to be accompanied by my little brother Robbie Burko on piano. Let me, I'll set the mood. Oy, 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 oy. Ato chunantonu limadat toirosecho ותלמדנו לעשות חוקי רצונך ותעבדן לאדוני אלוהינו בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Achel Aleinu, Achel Aleinu, Hayamim Aba'im Likroseinu, Leshalom. חצוחים מכל חטא ומנוקים מכל עוון ומדובקים 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 בירסך Oy, 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 oy. Oy, 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 oy.
The Queen later praised the cantor and asked, "When will you come to London?" In 1989, there was a cantorial festival tour behind the Iron Curtain. In Moscow, Louis Danto received a gold medal, proclaiming him a master cantor.
Sogno d'amor, divino souvenir, oh sogno
For those of you that know anything about a trill or diminishing, that he was a master at diminishing from full volume, full voice, right into the bel canto style of a falsetto, but not truly a falsetto, because really it was a mezzo voce, a way of diminishing from the voice right into a head tone, distinguishable from any other chazan in the world. I now welcome Cantor Alex Stein of the Adath Israel Synagogue to introduce his song.
I've got TB up next.
Oh, okay. We'll have Tibi introduce his song. Cantor Tibor Kavari of the Beth Tikva Synagogue.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure to be here in this program and honoring Grisha, Cantor Louis Danto, someone who is an iconic figure of cantorate, probably a leading cantor of his generation that I feel very fortunate that I had the chance to meet him in the first few years when my family, we moved here to Toronto. We miss him all. His teachings, his leadership, him being a mentor for all of us who were then very young cantors. And I prepared a piece of music for you today. Maybe Marshall will tell you, actually I prepared two. So Marshall will tell you which one is he going to introduce in the program today. But please enjoy it. And again, what an honor to be here with all the esteemed colleagues from around the world and with all the guests. Thank you.
In Leningrad, he inspired his audience with a call to freedom. In Odessa, he delighted them with an aria in Russian.
It is my great pleasure at this time to introduce to you Cantor Alex Stein of the Adath Israel congregation to introduce his piece.
Thank you, Marshall. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. It's wonderful to see so many faces, and we pray that the Cantor Danto's neshama should have an aliyah as we commemorate the 10th yarzeit. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I thought we have got a lot of chazonim doing a lot of chazonas, so we're going to do something a little bit lighter. It's a Thursday afternoon, so enjoy a little medley. I hope you can sing along, and I hope you enjoy it. It's from a concert that was done by myself and my colleagues, Cantor Shimon Farkash and Cantor Dov Farkash, his son, all the way from Sydney, Australia, with the Australian Orchestra conducted by the one and only Marvin Hamlish.
ויאמר קח נא את בנך ולך לך אל הר המוריה, מוריה, מוריה, מוריה.
ויאמר קח נא את בנך ולך לך אל הר המוריה, מוריה, 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 Keinu, Kadonenu, Kemakenu, Kemoshienu. Keinu, Kadonenu, Kemakenu, Kemoshienu.
Madam Yesod Omeya far Vesof, Vesof, Vesof Omeya far.
דודי לקראת הלאה, לקראת הלאה. בני שבת נקבלה, בני שבת נקבל.
אדון עולם השם עליו, בטרם אור יציר נקרא, ליית נשא וחפצו כל וחפצו כל.
ממקומו בראש השנה ייכתבו, וביום צום כיפור ייחקבו, מי יחיה, מי ימות, מי בקיצו, מי לא בקיצו.
זה שלום שמיים, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל יעמדו. אמן.
יתגדל ויתקדשה שמי רבו ביולו דברה מחידותי ימליך אוי מלכותי
בחייכו לא יהיו יומכו וחיי לכל בית ישראל.
שים שלום, שים שלום, טובה טובה וברכה, עדל וסם שים שלום, טובה וברכה.
Jeremy, so it's back to me again. And I would like to introduce Cantor Audrey Kaufman, very dear friend of mine, and she happens to be mishpacha as well to me. So that's a wonderful thing. And Audrey had the pleasure of singing with Cantor Danto in the Zemer Chorale for many years, and really learned a lot from him. And I'd like to say that Audrey is a wonderful chazanit, a wonderful chazan in the community, and really has not been featured enough. So we need to feature her even more. So Audrey, I'm gonna call upon you to introduce your video, which takes us really to a blast from the past. You're up, Audrey. There you go.
Whoops. Hi, thanks, Marshall. Chazan Danto was not only my cantor when I was a member of Beth Emeth, but truly a devoted friend and mentor. When I decided to pursue Chazanut, Louis took me under his wing for private study. And those lessons were invaluable, and I will always aspire to achieving what he taught me. My husband Barry recently came across a recording from when I was a choir member in the Beth Emeth, as Marshall mentioned, the Zemer Chorale, under the leadership of Charles Heller, who is no stranger to all of you. The video that Marshall is about to share now on his screen shows a very special time in my life. I was privileged to sing with a wonderful group of men and women who made up the Zemer Chorale, and every one of them was adored by Louis. Most were a generation older than I was, and they came from Europe. Many were Holocaust survivors who shared a deep and loving connection with Chazan Danto. When he would enter the room during our choir practice, a king wouldn't have received the reverence that Louis did. I hope you enjoy this tribute to our beloved Cantor Danto.
Israel,
my great honor and pleasure to introduce to you my beloved teacher, Cantor Benjamin Meisner, who will say a few words before we play Ben Steinberg's Modim Anachnu Lach, which will feature the new cantor of Holy Blossom Temple, as Cantor Meisner is retiring, and but not retiring from Chazanut, not retiring from teaching, Benny, just retiring from Holy Blossom as the cantor. And as you approach emeritus, we will all still be coming to you for help and advice. So we'll introduce Benny at this time.
Hello, everybody. One of the great rabbis that I worked with among an army of rabbis told me, less is more. So everybody is speaking, and everybody heard me speak about Grisha, my beloved friend, and Neraya Ir, Ruchama, my dear sister. So I'm not going to say anything because everything about me was said already. And Marshall, it's not Modim, I told you, it's Elu Devarim.
Oh, Elu Devarim.
A shtickle Torah that I wanted to include the new king of Holy Blossom, my dear student, friend, and my brother, David Rosen. This is a small little piece. The essence of it is the tzimtzum of what we are all about. Grisha will remain in my life and in my heart until my last day, because I've seen him in joyous occasions and unfortunately in more sad occasions and serious. But Sameach B'chelko, he was always Ezehu Ha'ashir HaSameach B'chelko. So put the video on and enjoy it.
דברים שאין להם שיעור. הבעיה והביקורים והרעיון. וגמילות חסדים וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה. דברים שאין להם שיעור והביקורים והרעיון וגמילות חסדים וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה. שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה. והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא. עיבוד אהביהם. אהבת שלום בין אדם לחברו. תלמוד תורה. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור והביקורים והרעיון וגמילות חסדים ותלמוד תורה. תלמוד תורה,
We welcome Cantor David Rosen of Holy Blossom Temple. And at this point, we're going to call upon David as we welcome you back to Toronto to say a few words, David.
Thank you, Marshall. It's really an honor and a privilege to be back in Toronto, my hometown where I grew up. And I have such fond memories as a little boy, as many other chazanim who are part of this concert recall, going to the various synagogues on a Shabbat and just basking and waiting on falling at the feet of these wonderful giant mentors, these chazanim who were truly world-class in Toronto. And as I've had the opportunity to serve pulpits other than Toronto and in America, there is still something that always pulls me back to the amazing cantorial tradition that is in Toronto. And Louis Danto was such an exemplar of that, and listening to his glorious voice and all that he had to offer his community, the entire Toronto Jewish community, and all of us as young aspiring chazanim to look towards. So it's wonderful to see everybody. It was truly a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to sing with my mentor and many of our mentors, Cantor Emeritus now of Holy Blossom, Benjamin Meisner. And I look forward to many more wonderful years with all of you in Toronto.
Shkoach. When you hear the name Charles Heller around the world, people often say, Charles Heller, I sing his music. I know all of his books of duets and trios that have been published all around the world. And whatever city you go to, and a year ago I was standing in London, England at the St. John's Wood Synagogue, and the chazan was singing a Charles Heller arrangement. But Charles Heller is much more than a choir director. He is a musicologist, an absolute genius when it comes to Jewish music. And he probably spent more time with Grisha than any of us. So we're going to call upon Charles Heller to speak words of tribute. Charles.
Louis Danto from Toronto will sing bel canto, pronto. This was the jingle that was made up by Louis' cousin, Eddie Fogel of Asham. So what's bel canto? Louis called it the lost art. The art of Donizetti, Bellini, and Rossini. And Louis learned bel canto from his illustrious teacher, Tito Schipa, and he applied this to his chazanut. He also learned from Schipa the technique called la voix mixte, the blending of chest voice and head voice to create a seamless flow of melody from low to high, what Louis called making the connection. Whenever Danto learnt a new piece, he would spend days practicing the same piece but in different keys until he found just the right key that would work and that would display this technique. Now in 1993, Beth Em at Beis Yehuda put on a gala concert to celebrate Chazan Danto's 20 years as a Chazan, and so they asked me to write something. This is the piece, and you're going to see a video of some of it later on. It's called Hodu, and I wrote it to showcase Louis' bel canto technique. And I composed it with, they had the chazan, we had the choir, and full orchestra. And the idea was it was all based on 18th century Jewish melodies, which you can find in various publications, such as the Venerable Blue Book, which should be familiar to a lot of you. And there's also a thing called Talale Zimra, which is the Spanish and Portuguese collection of beautiful melodies. So these are all 18th century music. It's legitimate Jewish music, but it sounds like Mozart, which means that it's very difficult to sing properly. And it takes training to sing bel canto. Each note has to be of equal quality and exactly in tune, even if it's just a simple melody like this Shir HaMa'alot. hope you can hear that. Hope it came through loud and clear. Anyway, you'll hear some of this piece in the video later. Now, Danto's technique was very much on show on a very special occasion, and that was in the Ila, when he sang Leib Glanz's Eskara Elohim, this amazing piyut, which is actually part of a section in the Ila, which is very Zionistic. It's about praying for the restoration of Eretz Yisrael. So imagine you're in Beth Emet on the Ila, and after fasting for 24 hours, Louis nonetheless gets up and he's going to sing Leib Glanz's Eskara Elohim in this key. It's not my key, it's Louis' key. So he sings like this. Eskara Elohim ve'yamayo berasi kalir al tilo benuyo go'ir Elohim mushpeles achiol tachtiyo ובכל זאת שנו לילה בממות and then comes another amazing passage. Comes a bit later on. He goes, Yehi ratzon lefanecha shomei akol kol bichyo. There you go. I'm not getting it. You get the idea. It was this brilliant piece, and the packed shul was in awe. Unforgettable. So Danto's Chazanot was not just about coloratura fireworks, but it was about the basic bones of Chazanot, which is improvisation and nusach. And that means using the appropriate chant for the appropriate time. The Beth Emet Beis Yehuda was always steeped in nusach, and they responded to every nuance of the cantor. So unfortunately, nowadays, not everybody is sure what nusach is and why we need it. So I would say the purpose of nusach is to unite the congregation so that they are mindful of sharing the moment in time and space. And I got here a quote about this. I'm going to read, see what it says here. You sit together with the same audience, the same singers, and you share something. When you see the same people sitting beside you, you start to exchange. People commit to a thing together, an intellectual and emotional experience, and it becomes a transcendent human experience. Now that should apply to what davening is with a congregation. Actually, it wasn't written by a chazan. It comes from the program of the Metropolitan Opera. It's talking about an opera festival. It applies very much to shuls. So I hope that the memory of Louis Danto should encourage us all to continue his work, maintaining the art of Chazanot, doing our best to maintain it at the highest level. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
The cantor has enchanted each baby in his family with this lullaby.
Oh, my baby, my curly headed lady, I'm serious on you, as I stay.
Rabbi Howard Morrison worked with Chazan Danto towards the end of Chazan Danto's career as he was stepping into retirement and slowing down. But, you know, Grisha really never stepped down and he really never slowed down. I recall that as Chazan Danto, during the last year or so of his life, visiting him at Baycrest, and I couldn't find him in his room. And I looked for Grisha and wondered where he was. And where was he? He was the clergyman visiting everyone else. He wanted to make sure that everybody else that was there had a visit from him. Grisha was so concerned about everyone else, always worrying about the others that were there. So it is my honor at this time to call upon his colleague, friend, Rabbi Howard Morrison.
Thank you, Marshall. Shalom, everybody. It is with great pleasure that I share and participate in this tribute concert in loving memory of esteemed beloved Chazan, Louis Danto, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. When I first arrived on the scene of Beth Emeth in 2000, at this time of year in early August, one of the gifts that was presented to me was a new relationship, a relationship with Chazan Louis Danto, who immediately became in my life a teacher, a colleague, and a friend. For 10 years before his passing, I was blessed to live one block away from him and Ruchama. They lived on Maxwell Drive, I lived on Blue Forest Drive. You could almost take a pebble, throw it through a window at my house, and it would come to a window at their house. We were that close, not only geographically, but close in our friendship and in our relationship. Some of the characteristics that Jewish law demands of a shliach tzibor, a chazan, include the following: possessing a good reputation, being humble, being accepting to the community, being skilled at chanting, being well-versed in sacred texts. I think these descriptions had Chazan Danto in mind. I will always be impressed as I think of my time working and sharing with Chazan Danto, with Kavanat Halev, the spirit and dedication that emanated from his heart. Kol Na'im, his pleasing voice. Ahavat Yisrael, his love for the entirety of the Jewish people when he stood as an advocate and an ambassador for our people. There are a couple of interesting ways in which the Danto name continues to be remembered at Beth Emet Beis Yehuda Synagogue. In the previous rendition of our small Lerman chapel, the following words hovered over the Aron Kodesh: Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. And right after the Shiva period, following Chazan Danto's passing, I observed with Ruchama that you can actually find in those few words the letters of Danto, spelled Daled Nun Taf Vav, in those words for know before whom you stand. How appropriate. During Chanukah, we add a well-known passage, Al HaNisim. It is a passage of Hoda'ah, of gratitude. It appears as part of the Modim Anachnu Lach passage. And in that special paragraph of gratitude to God, among the phrases expressing thankfulness, come the words Danta et Dinam. We thank God for adjudicating the case of the Jewish people. Well, we don't stick to the grammar per se when we chant those words. We prefer at Beth Emet to say or sing those words, not Danta et Dinam, but rather Danto et Dinam. And the fact of the matter is, for 32 years at Beth Emet, Chazan Louis Danto stood as our Shliach Tzibor, our representative before God, representing our community in adjudicating our case before Hashem. Last thought, I couldn't think of a more perfect Shabbat Haftarah by which to remember Chazan Danto this week. The final verse in the Haftarah for Parshat Ekev reads as follows. I'll read the first part in English and then the second part in Hebrew and English. Truly the Lord has comforted Zion, comforted all her ruins. He has made her wilderness like Eden, her desert like the garden of the Lord. Sason v'simcha yimatzeh va, todah v'kol zimra. Gladness and joy shall abide there, thanksgiving and the sound of music. This Haftarah is part of a series now of 7 Haftarot of comfort following Tisha B'Av. Now, just 10 years after his passing, we still pray to Hashem to provide us comfort as we remember Chazan Danto. For so many decades, Chazan Danto provided us with sason v'simcha, gladness and joy. Todah, we are grateful to Hashem for giving us the gift of Chazan Louis Danto and his Kol Zimra, his beautiful spiritual sound of music. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May his memory always be for a blessing. Thank you.
In memory of Chazan Louis Danto, Zichrono Livracha, of blessed memory, a loving mentor, teacher, and friend to so many, I'm honored to sing Mimkomcha, according to the Mojit's tradition, composed by Benzion Schenker. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May his memory forever be for a bracha.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Cantor Danto for allowing me the privilege to have some close to 300 people during this session be part of this great tribute. And at this time, we have a wonderful chazan in our midst in Toronto. We have chazan David Guber. And David Guber is going to sing for us his Birchat HaChodesh, written by his grandfather. And first of all, we'll call upon David Guber to introduce this piece.
Thank you, Cantor Marshall, for inviting me to sing at this concert. May Cantor Danto soul have an aliyah. And now going to be Birchat HaChodesh that was written by my grandfather. Yehi Ratzoin, Yehi Ratzoin, Yehi Ratzoin, Milafon
מלפונך. יהי רצון מלפונך. השם אלוהינו, אלוקי אבוי סבינו. שתחדש ולנו, שתחדש ולנו, שתחדש ולנו, שתחדש ולנו, נסחוידש החוידש הזה לטובה, לטובה. ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים וחיים של שלום. ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים וחיים של שלום. וחיים של טובה, וחיים של נחת, וחיים של פרנסה, וחיים של תפילות. Atzomois u'chaim sheyesh bohem yiras v'shamayim v'iras chet u'chaim שאין בוהם בושה וכלימו, חיים של אושר וכבוד וחיים חיים זכאי בנו ולבס תוירו וירס שמיים וחיים חיים שימלו משלוש ליבנו לטובו בסחוס תבילס רבים בסחוס תבילס רבים אמן סלام.
Thank you, Cousin Goober. You really cannot speak of Cousin Louis Danto in the same breath without mentioning Ruchama, because more than two peas in a pod, as he supported her and held her up high on a pedestal, I know that Ruchama did the same for Grisha through his whole career. And it takes a family to sacrifice a lot when the belongs to the whole community. And I know what that's like, the sacrifices that are made, and by David and by Annette and by Denise, the whole family. You know, you lose a little bit of that, what you really want, which is to have them 100% of the time. But they were gracious enough to share Grisha with all of us. So at this time, I call upon Rochama Danto to say some words.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First, I would like to thank all the Chazanim who participated in this tribute concert in the memory of my husband's 10th yarzeit. Especially, I would like to thank Cantor Marshall Loomer, who with devotion and love took upon himself this assignment. I also thank and appreciate Rabbi Morrison, who really was with my husband almost in his last moments. I also would like to thank all the hundreds of people from our family in Israel, Florida, and New York, our close friends from New Jersey, Cantor Mike Kessler and Barbara, and Cantor Jarepker from Dallas, Texas. They are all here with us. And I want to thank everybody who joined us. In the tribute today, we traveled musically with my husband in his wandering life as a Ud Mutzal Me'esh, one who was saved from the fire of the Holocaust and who survived because of his voice in order to bring joy and Jewish music to all. He was Ne'im Zmirot Israel. I must admit here that every high holiday, when my husband meditated the Hineni Ani Mimas, I felt like he composed it. It fits so much to his character. He was a real modest, and Ani Mimas. He was a real modest person. He always felt super sensitive and responsible, nir'ash v'nifchad, that he is approaching God in the name of all the congregants. באתי לעמוד לפניך ולהתחנן לפניך על עמך ישראל, אשר שלחוני. That's a שליח ציבור. אף על פי שאיני ראוי לכך, even though I don't deserve it. All the prayers was for all Israel. Exactly as Mordechai Ben Dat wrote in the Canadian Jewish News, all Israel was his congregation. Another prayer that did not leave a dry eye in the congregants in the synagogue is when he prayed the El Maleh Rachamim for the 6 million. Now, losing a loved one is a very painful situation. It's a familiar case to almost everyone. How do we deal with it? In Judaism, life is a major concept. So how do we deal with the loss of life? In gradation. Slowly, slowly, we get back to life. The first day is the most difficult one. Then we sit Shiva. Then we observe the 30th day, the Shloshim. And then the yearly memory day, the yarzeit. The yarzeit is not a day of mourning. On the contrary, it is a day to remember and celebrate the achievement, the accomplishment, the Menschlichkeit of the departed one. And that's what we did here today. Thanks again for joining together to remember and celebrate the life of my husband, a father, a grandfather, and your friend and colleague, Grisha Louis Danto. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochama.
We have only glimpsed the incredible achievements of Louis Danto. Through heartbreak and hardship, he held on to the dream of a 10-year-old orphan, determined to make music his life. It is a profound measure of the man that he accepts applause with such modesty and greets each day with the ultimate expression of love and thankfulness for the divine gifts bestowed upon him. Truly, each picture is worth 1,000 words.
Chazan Noam Goodman, El Malay Rachamim.
El Malay Rachamim Shochein Bameramim Hametzei Menuchanechaino Tagas Kanvei Ashechino Bimalos Kedoshim Otehorim Kezar Arakia Mazahirim Es Nishemos Achazn Zvi Aryeh Ben Chaim Udevara Sheyalach Le'olamo Mavor Shekulanu Mispalelim Beyad Hazekaros Nishemoso Began Eden Began Eden Teye Menuchaso Lochein Malorachamim Yastir Lehu Beseiser Kenofov Leolamim Veitzeror Mitzeror Achayim Es Nishmoso Aloiloi O Nachaloso Vianuach Beshalom
Thank you to the many hundreds that came out today in this afternoon to honor Chazan Louis Danto, Zichrono Livracha. May his memory serve as an inspiration to all of us. Amen.